I haven't made a tutorial in a long time, but someone told me that I should make one on a little UVing tip that I mentioned to someone. So I thought I'd give it a go. I'm sorry if it's not perfect. Like I said, I haven't done one in ages, so I might miss some stuff or something, but it should be okay. This doesn't really apply to like extremely complex models like a full character or anything like that, but simple objects, and the technique can be applied to character UVing and stuff. You can decide that for yourself once you've seen what it is, but let's get started. Well, what I'm going to do is create a UV map, but instead of creating planar UV maps on the same UV, I'm going to use a morph to position everything and then just do a single UV and once and then export it and done. So okay, let's go. So first I'm going to go to morph and create a new morph and call it UV2. UV2 because I've already done this once, because this is a finished model, I'm using it for this video and it's already called UV. So what I want to do is I want to keep the front of their shield separate to the back of the shield, and then I want to separate out the handle and the bolts and everything. So you want to select all the polys that you want to be shown at the front, so all of these front ones, you don't want any of the back ones, and then cut them out and paste them back in. I've already done this, so as you can see it hasn't selected the back. What I did was click and then closing curly bracket to expand selection, which is not what I was trying to say, but it's closing curly bracket is to expand the selection, and closing square bracket is to select everything that's connected. So then shift to add to selection and select everything, and Control X to cut, Control V to paste. It was already separated before, but I'm just showing you so that you can do it. Then you can move it to the side. Before we carry on, we want to go into an empty layer and create a box. I'm using Control drag to uniformly scale the box, and F2 to center it, F to flip it, and then just moving it out of the way. I'm going to use that box as a reference for the UV window from when we're creating the UV, which we are doing now. So now I want to move everything just out of the way a minute. Shift A to center on selection, and now I'm going to use R to rotate 90 degrees, 180 degrees, but in 90 degree increments around the mouse, depending which window you're in. So if I'm in the top window and I hit R, it's going to rotate 90 degrees around the point my mouse is on. And then F2 to center, and then just bring it back over. That's because I like to keep everything centered. Okay, so I want to separate out the handle and the strap, and all of these bolts, so that I can paint them all individually and they won't be in the way when I'm trying to paint the back. But I want to remember where they are, so I'm going to select all of the bolts and the handle, and then use closing square bracket to select all connected, Control C, Control V to duplicate all of those parts and just move them to the side. And Shift A to zoom back in on that. Because I want to keep a reference on whereabouts they were, I could just leave it how it is now and then just delete them afterwards, but it would kind of get in the way if I was texturing in Photoshop and I saw this whole bar. I might forget. I mean, probably not with this small model, but if you've got a huge model, if this is supposed to be something specific or anything. So I'm going to select a few polys from the middle, and then use the closing curly bracket to expand my selection, and then just delete most of it and just leaving a few little bits left that will give me an idea and a guide as to where it connected to the model. And then I'm going to do the same for all of the deselect for all of these bolts down here, and expand, and then just delete, leaving these little bits. same here. Expand and delete. So now we've got the back of the shield, and we've got these little guides telling us where everything was connected. Now they won't be there because we've already got the bolts. We don't want overlapping pulleys. They can just be deleted afterwards, but for now I'll leave them there, and I'll show you how to get rid of them later. It's pretty straightforward. But okay, for the handle, I don't really need much detail in the handle, and as we're using a morph for everything, I could straighten it all out and then do a cylindrical UV projection, but like I said, I don't really need any much detail in it, so I'm just gonna flatten it out, straighten it. Sorry, because I don't need that much detail, but I want to make sure it's at least a bit tidy. And do the same on this on the bottom side. I'm just using Y. It's T for translation, Y to rotate, and H to scale. So I'm using Y and then rotating my selection. If I miss any tools or anything, I'm sorry. I'll make a video at some point for like beginners to LightWave and just go over the tools and stuff and talk about all that. But for now, just bear with me. If I miss anything, I apologise, but it should be fine. Okay, I'm just moving everything out of the way because I want to start positioning stuff in what will be the UV window, but right now it's just a square and an individual poly in the background. So the front of the shield is probably going to be the biggest part because it's going to have the most detail in it. The back of the shield doesn't need to be as big because it's not really seen as much, so it doesn't need as much resolution on the image than the rest of the model, but you can use R to rotate it and then just scale it till it fits. Make sure nothing's on the outside of the box. I like to try and take up as much room on the UV window as I can so that you can fit absolutely as much as detail as you can in. I'm going to position the handle, scale it up so that we can get an idea of what we're dealing with when we paint in Photoshop. And the same with the strap, scale it, fit it in there. This is probably a bad idea to just scale things out like this if it's anything, like if it was the shield and I just started stretching it out, it would all be distorted when I brought it back in and wrapped the texture around the model. So, but for the strap, it's just a strap of leather, so it doesn't really matter. If anything, it will help having it stretched out because it'll give some variety to the texture. And with the bolts, I'm going to scale them all up to roughly the same size and just position them all together. Some people, or a lot of people, I don't know, might create only one bolt and then UV that individual bolt and then duplicate it around the model once the UV map's done. Or some people might straight away create all of the bolts like I have, but then in the UV map have them all on top of each other like this, and then just paint an individual bolt and it'll affect all of them. But I like to keep everything at least a little bit different, so I like to paint everything individually. But okay, so now we've placed everything in our morph, we'll put both the layers together in the foreground. Otherwise, when we apply the UV texture, it won't include the background layer if it's just a background layer, so we want everything in the foreground. Then we go to T, the texture tab, create new, call it UV map. I got caps lock on for some reason. Planar, linear, and we're going to do it down the Z because we want it projected directly facing that direction across the Z. And boom, great. Now if we go to UV, you see we've got here is exactly what we've got here, and everything fits nice and neatly in because we used this box to make sure that the boundaries were the same. Some problems I've had in the past when I haven't used just some background template boxes that I've created a UV map and it's stretched everything to fit absolutely against the edge of, oh, it's not stretched, it's scaled everything to fit completely on the edge of the UV window, which is fine. But if you forget and then you're painting in a texture and you bring the texture back in, things won't line up properly, and that's just stressful when you spend ages painting something. There's an easy fix, but you can just deal without it. So now that you've got the UV texture, or the UV map, go up to File and then Export. File, Export, EPS. Uncheck Draw Grid unless you want to keep the grid in the background of the image. The image we're exporting is just going to be a wire image. I'm pretty sure it's like a vector, and then I just import it into Photoshop and use it as a reference instead of screenshotting it. It gives you more resolution on the lines of the wireframe. Select what you want. If you want to do the front, top, size, I just want the texture. Make sure Draw Grid is unchecked. Give it a file name and a location, and then click OK. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. But just click OK and done. Then you can import that image into Photoshop, paint your texture, and then once the texture is painted, we'll pretend that we've painted one, which I have because this is a finished model. And just go back to, for starters, I was just going to go straight back to go to the morph and click base, which brings everything back together, and we can delete this background poly and just have the shield all nice and neat. But we've duplicated some of these polygons, and if we keep it like this, we're going to have just completely pointless polygons in the zone. And if we merge at any points, then we're going to have single point polys everywhere, or 2-point polys. So you want to go into the UV and just select all of these bits. Let's go back to the morph first, just to make sure we don't select the wrong things. Select all of these little references we left, and closing square bracket, and just delete. Now that everything we duplicated is gone, just go back to base, and then there's your shield. Fine. And there's UV map. UV map. Once you've done that, go to texture. No, sorry. Go to surface. I just realised part of the screen's cut off. Go to surface editor. Go on color, click T, then bring in the UV projection, UV map. Yeah, and then a texture which I call metal. This texture is all messed up because, like I said, I'd already created it, and the UV map I created was called texture. And then close that. I'm just using the default because actually, if you click Q to create a new surface and just shield, we want smoothing, we don't really want specularity or anything. Then go to surface editor, shield, do the same thing, or as I've already done it, I'm just going to right click, copy and paste, and then hide the wireframe, and then maybe show the image down here with the appropriate UV map, as you can see, and then there you go. Everything's lines up all nice and painted, and there's UV done using morphs. I hope this video was useful and I didn't miss out too much of anything, or just anything really. Like I said, I haven't made one for a long time. I hope I didn't miss out on any tools, and I hope you followed along. Okay, see you next time.